Jeff Schuster is the Senior Vice President of Forecasting at LMC Automotive, talking here at the Management Briefing Seminars. And Jeff, one thing I wanted to ask you about is, we all know that car sales in the United States are starting to go down, but it looks like retail sales kind of been holding their own. Fill in the blanks here, please.
You know, it has. It's been an interesting dynamic this year. The story has really been about the pullback in overall demand, but you have to look below that layer, and retail sales through June are off only 0.6% from where they were last year. So it's really been a pullback in rental car or fleet volume that we've seen in the first half of the year. Now, as we progress to the second half, we're going to see a little bit different story.
Why?
Well, the comparisons, when you go year over year, last year we saw really sales, both retail and fleet, primarily retail, take off in the second half of the year. And that's been something the industry's been experiencing over the last several years. Some of that being incentive driven, certainly in the fourth quarter of last year. So I think when you look at this year and we look at the leveling off of retail, we're going to have a hard time hitting those same numbers that we saw a year ago.
But so far this year, then, the story really is that the deterioration has really been in fleet sales, not so much retail.
That's right, it really has been. I think we will certainly see a little bit of further pullback in retail as we progress through the remainder of the year, but that's more due to the comparisons last year than it is the level that we're seeing right now.
Gotcha. And why is retail or fleet pulling back more?
Well, it's a reduction in rental car activity, the element of demand that really isn't profitable for the OEMs. We've seen a tremendous amount of discipline, and it seems a little bit of follow the leader. So we have one OEM that starts to pull back, then others do the same thing. So once you start to see that and progress it through elements of the industry or different brands, then you can really see the impact. It starts to hit the numbers.
You're one of the speakers here at the conference. What's the presentation you'll be giving to the audience?
So I'm going to be looking at that. I'm going to be looking at today's environment as it relates to the overall health of demand in the industry. I'm going to look at the near-term outlook, and then we're going to look a little bit further, because I think the interesting dynamic going on right now is automakers in the industry has to balance today's market. You can't forget about trying to sell to consumers today while developing autonomous vehicles and car sharing and mobility solutions for the future.
Do you see all this move to mobility and car sharing impacting car sales anytime soon?
You know, honestly, we don't. We think it's going to be a little bit of a long road before we see a massive impact. In fact, I'll give you a sneak preview. Over the next several years, as we progress toward that, we think we could actually see a lift as you see some of those vehicles on the road get replaced.
Oh, very interesting. And so what about all these studies out there that say at some point car sales are going to go down? You think that's some years out?
We think it's some years out, and honestly, the jury's, I think, still out on exactly what the level is and where we see things happening, or where we see things leveling off with that. We do think there could be maybe a 10% decline in the future, but that's taking away more of the growth than it is the overall volume.
Gotcha. Jeff Schuster, thanks for this quick snapshot on what you're talking about here at MBS.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Major trends are reshaping the automotive industry and accelerating the technology's revolution. The Foresian community is ready to inspire the future. Foresia is inspiring mobility.